How are you doing, everyone? I'm Paul Noro. I'm principal of KERR Elementary School. This is Amy Jacobek. She's an ed support teacher for 4th grade. I have Stacy Terpsick. She's a behavior specialist in our school. And then I have Stan Strempek, who is our tech ed teacher in our district, in our school as well, because he kind of does a little bit of both in our district at this point. So what we're presenting on is student and family engagement, the secret to our success. And I'm really happy to see a lot of people here since it's 70 degrees, it's in the afternoon. You must really need your Act 48, I guess. I can only imagine that's why. And the focus of student and family engagement can always be difficult. We looked at a lot of different things. I'm glad they're not saying teens, because I tried to get my daughter to come down and watch me. She wouldn't. So I'm glad we're elementary. We're just going to stick with the elementary group. So with that, we hope we get some good ideas from us today. It's been quite a process in getting this in place in our school. So out of the office.
I thought we'd lighten the mood just a little.
Yes. So this is us out of the office. They must have snuck this one in. This is great. I have a good sense of humor, though. Okay. Engagement challenges. When you think of student and family engagement, what 3 words describe your biggest challenges?
So if you go to our link here, which is menti.com, on either your cell phone or on a laptop, it's going to give you the code that's on the screen and ask you just to enter those numbers. On that next step, we'll ask you for any 3 words that to you feel describe the biggest challenge regarding in your school setting for family and student engagement. So whatever first pops in your mind, those 3 words are what we'd like you to share with us. And then we're going to talk about that a little later in the presentation. So don't worry about trying to click to view results or anything at this time. So you should be able to go to menti.com and then enter the code 402574.
We'll give you another few seconds here. Demographics. This is about who we are. We're made up of 7 different municipalities. We're 74% white, 10% black, almost 5% Asian, 381 students currently, but we're looking at 410 plus for the next school year, because we have a pre-K coming in to our school, and we have a Spanish immersion is beginning a program in our school as well, and we're moving into a new school, so we're moving about 100 feet away into a new school. We have 43.7% of our student bodies economically disadvantaged, special education 12%. We have 108 students just with our MTSS model receiving reading support. We exceed state goals in PSA assessments in all areas and exceed state goals in PBIS, with the exception of ELA at this time. We're the #1 school in the region of like schools, so anyone that compares to us. And I think a lot of that has to do with things we put in place. I've been the principal for 14 years. I couldn't do it without the people at the school and with the people I have here today, because it took us all working together. When I first came there was a lot of behavior issues, and kind of nothing was being done at that time. There wasn't a focus for the whole school. There wasn't overarching goals set. For us, it was just band-aiding it every day as we went along. And we tried some different things for the first few years. It didn't work, not at all. And, sometimes, you're always thinking of more on the punishment side and the correction side, but not on the positive side. And we really needed a change, because to me, we needed something that everyone in the whole entire school could do, all the teachers could facilitate, something I could observe when I'm in the classrooms, and everyone got the same message. So we had to have buy-in from everyone. And with that, that's why those stats are impressive, is because we've moved up to the other 3 schools in the district. It's a very wealthy area, Fox Chapel, so the expectations are very high, and we have to meet those expectations, and we think we're doing an excellent job at doing that. So you see back in fall 2009, the big help sign. At that point, it was kind of, things were kind of running a little rampant there, and I figured when I got hit off the head with a shoe from a student, it was time to try and do something a little different. So after that, in January, we pulled selected staff members together and attended a Champs conference at Patan with Randy Sprick. Was able to go see Randy Sprick in Oregon, and then came back after we saw him here. That's where I went and got trained in Champs. Champs is, if you don't know what it is, it's really teaching transitions. It's teaching exactly what I want, modeling. You spend a lot of time on Champs to make it work. It's an acronym, but it's one of those things where without that, I don't know where we would be today, because we train our kids and we teach them what our expectations are from day one. And I always say, we'll get all that time back down the road if we can also implement it well and make sure it's done well in our classrooms. Then in 2010, 2011, the core team was established and works to lay out a foundation of Tier 1 at all three of the three-tiered model. 2011, all teachers in grades K to 5 fully implemented SWIBs into their classroom. Again, through my observations and them working together, it really went well. I gave a lot of feedback. The team met a lot. We worked a lot together. And now when new teachers come in, they kind of know what the expectations are, because Stacy will work with them, or one of our teachers will work with them, and they understand this is what they need to implement. And we have manuals and everything built around this. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with it. Then we went for cafeteria bus dismissal areas and specials fully implemented in 2012, 2013. Then a Tier 2 behavior support team was formed. Targeting interventions began to address the needs of students at risk for problem behaviors. And then in 2013, we have PTR and check-in, check-out are piloted. A Tier 3 team is established, include many members of the Tier 2 team, support team. We thought it was good to have consistency and understanding. They're not all the same people on both, but there is a connection. We wanted all the teams to be somehow connected, so that way it wasn't like, one hand kind of putting their hand on another and putting their hand on another. It had to be some consistency in the language. So we felt that really went well. In 2014, 2015, full year of check-in, check-out is in place. And then we use PAS as a social emotional learning is implemented in the classroom. And then 2015, 2016, classroom teachers begin weekly skill streaming lessons to teach essential pro-social skills. Students who demonstrate a need for continued reinforcement of these skills attend weekly group meetings. So much of what we do, and one of the things that really highlighted it for me was the classroom meetings. I think what makes our schools successful in this area is those weekly classroom meetings that are 40 minutes. We've used different programs. Sometimes we're talking about things around Ovaeus bully prevention. Sometimes we have some issue that's happening in the class. So we teach, again, while we hit it hard that first month, we continuously teach it throughout the entire year with weekly meetings. Only sometimes a teacher will say to me, hey, I can't have my weekly meeting because. We have a full curriculum like everyone else. We have ELA blocks that run a couple hours. We have math that runs an hour and 15 minutes, social studies, science. We have 8 specials a week, so every child gets art twice, music twice, phys ed twice, computer once, and library once. When you have a packed schedule, then you also get Spanish as well during trimesters of the year. We have, we're lucky enough to have 5 reading teachers currently in our building, a Title I math person, and 6 ed support teachers because of the needs. So that's another reason we're able to fit everything in and work with the students that really need work with. And I know a lot of schools don't have what we have, but luckily for us, we're able to, take what we have and do the best job we can with it. Here's our pyramid now. Okay, so this is the pyramid. Everyone has seen this. So, our foundation was right there. All students receive Swiss information system. That's a great, when we have staff meetings, I'm able to take Swiss data, put it on graphs, and show the staff where we're at. As far as look, this is where we were last year, several years ago, and this is where we're at today. There was a point where we had over 700 referrals to timeout. We run a timeout room all day, every day. That's kind of piece of what we do. But we also have Swiss, so we look at that. So sometimes if you look at data, it could be sometimes deceiving. So if we have 100 referrals, it may be only, 8 kids that make up 75% of those referrals. So what are those kids in? Do we have them in check in, check out? Do we have a behavior support plan in place? So it really helps us get specifically on what students need the most help. We have an environment for conducive learning, rigorous and relevant curriculum, school-wide expectations, respect, responsibility, and integrity, which are district-wide as well. We have a core team, non-classroom setting, we teach and reinforce, and then parent and community engagement, which is one of our focus that we're constantly working on. Because we have buy-in as a school. Sometimes parents won't always have the same buy-in as we do. They see it as being more restrictive. They don't see the other side, we're being more positive. When we weren't probably 4 positive comments to 1 correction, I think we've done a really good job with that. I don't think it was like that before we started our PBIS program. Above that, we have brief BIP with targeted goals, check in, check out, staff, students, one-on-ones, and academic groups. And then crisis planning, academic curriculum, individualized support, PTR FBAs, and communication with outside agencies. We also have some funny names like acronyms like BARF. So things like that, which teachers have to fill out in order for a child to be brought up at our problem-solving team meetings. Our problem-solving team meetings, because MTS and RTI kind of went the way of academics, we kind of lost that behavior side. So now we have problem-solving meetings that go every other week with our SAP meetings. And I think that's been really effective. This is our mission statement. Every morning we do have our mission, our creed is kind of read to all the students. And the challenges.
Okay, thank you. So Paul did a really wonderful job of kind of describing what KERR Elementary School looks like in the Fox Chapel School District. And I'm not sure how many of you are from Allegheny County or local near Pittsburgh, but Fox Chapel, like he had said, is well known for being an affluent district. However, our building KERR looks really different than the rest of the school district. So we face some challenges that not all of the other buildings in our district may have, that they have to work their way through. So again, we're a Title I building. We have a very low SES. We have a lot of students who move in and out of our district. Some come in 5th grade in April and are just getting started. We have students that are there for a few school years, leave, and then come back later. We have students that are homeless. We have students that are living, with 3 families in one household. So living situations can be a challenge. We have lots of, in many communities in Allegheny County, lots of AOD issues right now, parents who are incarcerated, family members who are incarcerated, custody issues. There's a high prevalence, and you probably have been to lots of conferences or breakouts in the last 2 days about trauma. Our students have had some really significant traumas. I mean, traumas that I can't even imagine, as an adult having to experience. And then we've had our students who are, 6, 7, and 8 years old who are telling us that they've seen a parent get shot in the head. Poverty. We also have those things that probably are pretty consistent across all school districts, where you see the same parents who are volunteering or showing up. Some parents who would like to volunteer but don't know how. We were just talking about that this morning, that we have parents who maybe want to volunteer, but now there's clearances that they have to have, and they may not understand that process or have access to the resources they need to get to. Our district has gone pretty much paperless, and we have a lot of parents who may not have access to the internet, a computer or whatever, to even sign up to get their clearances. Time, we all have time constraints. Our parents, our families have time constraints, and staff buy-in, because that, again, is a really difficult challenge. Every year, we survey, as part of our PBIS program, we survey our teachers, our staff, about what they feel like are issues in our schools. So this is the school safety survey that we just recently did. And so what you see up here are all the risk factors that come into our building that we try to work our way through. Things like, and typically it's the same things every year, things like high student mobility, truancy, poverty, and deteriorating conditions, and that's within the buildings, that's within our communities. But those are, so again, it's not just like, we're not just like throwing guesses at the wall and seeing what sticks. These are legitimately what information is coming from our surveys. And then our strengths, the good news is we have a school-wide universal team that has been in place since about 2010. We have a pretty supportive PTO who, you know, when we try and pull them in, are willing to work with us and help us out where they can. And that changes from year to year, just depending on what the makeup looks like. We have really tried to tap into some local businesses and organizations in our community. So we have a few community centers. We have some local churches. We have, you know, because again, our community, our neighborhood has some resources within the neighborhood to help the people in the neighborhoods. So we're able to use and rely on some of those organizations to provide some help and some support for us. Logistics, we're really close to a park, a neighborhood park. We pull in even things like the fire department, the police department, the municipal building. We've had made some good connections there. We've gone down and actually presented in the community on different topics. We did an Olveus training several years ago. We've done parenting classes in the local community center. And then our neighborhoods, our catchment area for our school district, for our particular building, everybody's pretty close and tight in there, so it's a nice way to reach out and be able to connect with a lot of people. We recently got a school resource officer. We have a social worker who comes in, and we also have just recently started with school-based mental health. And one of the biggest strengths that I think that we have is diversity. So we have a lot of different families who have a lot of different strengths who can come in and are willing to work with us. So our protective factors, again, from our school safety survey, things like good professional development. We have crisis response plans. We have a strength in our student support services. Again, these are all of the things that kind of come along with our PBIS programming, you know, the supervision, participating a lot, positive learning climate, all of those good, strong things that we have in place that just kind of help us be able to draw in the parents and the students. So volunteerism, like this is why we're here, right? How do we get these parents in here? How do we get students engaged? So we just thought we'd show you a funny little clip.
Has asked all the branches to come up with ideas as to how we can better communicate with our communities. In order to help our communities, we need to put other people's needs ahead of our own.
And whoever comes up with the best idea gets a $50 gift certificate to the restaurant of his or her choice.
Good, good. Okay, who wants to help the world one step at a time?
And that's Dwight saying volunteerism. So
Due to
that's our new word we're going to use.
So you could see it took a little incentive there before we got some activity. So we've had that too, and we've used that with Paul's support. We've been able to help provide some incentives. But just to kind of take a look, so we as a team, when we were sitting around the table, thought we really need to build this more into not just a school thing, but a community thing. We need to find a way to bring in the families, and because we are such a small knit community, and the fact that we have some local opportunities within the parks, we wanted to find a way to use those resources when we were planning. And our idea at this point was, why don't we use something that we've kind of done in the past? That was, at the time we had a PTA, they were doing more of like a fall festival, and some changes had happened within their logistics. So we kind of partnered together and then took lead and developed our own, which you could see there, a little play on words, was our Kerrtoberfest. We've developed that now into an annual event, and it's every time in October. We recognize, because of October being National Bully Prevention Month, it kind of gives us a way to lead into our school values and kind of remind our students why we do what we do. It's held right at one of the parks that's in a local borough, and makes it nice because families that might not have access as far as transportation can walk. We provide food. We started, and I'll share this a little bit further too, with a zero budget. So we don't want that perception to be, well, the funds were there, because they truly weren't. We made what we wanted from it, and we found resources, went out, we made letters, and used that collaboration between local organizations and businesses to get the things that we knew would be our crucial pieces. So, you know, for schools that may not have something like this in place, don't be afraid to put yourselves out there. We created something that shared what our mission was, and then use that to really get the local businesses to want to buy in. And they saw the benefit and how it could return to the community, so they were interested as well.
And these, I'm sorry.
No.
These aren't even local, like community, like small
No.
businesses. We're talking like we have a Walmart, we have a McDonald's, we have a Staples. Like we.
Eaton
called
Park,
them
Giant
up.
Eagle.
Right, and we weren't afraid to say, McDonald's, what can you give us? Because they will actually give you things if you ask them. And if you
Yeah.
ask them at the right time, obviously, but
Right.
we've had a lot of really good responses from really large corporations, so.
So the event itself is no cost to the students, it's no cost to the families. And we encourage them to bring their families. This isn't just, you know, you come with mom or dad. If you have siblings, they come as well. We try to accommodate the best we can. Obviously, with numbers, you try to make sure we're meeting the students first, but we encourage that overall involvement. So it's been a growing thing that we've done. So with our action planning, when we met, our first goal was just, let's see if we can just find something to build this involvement with our community and the families. Again, our budget being nothing to start. We sent out a flyer. This went home just to every kid in the building, and then we made posters that we hung within the community. Took that same thing, had a print shop develop it, something that we could share. Local businesses were also willing to let us post things, so helped for getting the word out there. Our donation letters went out, and to be honest, we were really, really ecstatic to see the response that we had and the partnerships that we were able to develop. So from there, you know, you could see that our result, most of these pictures, except for the one in the middle, were from one of our originals. So this is down at the park. We were able to get some bounce houses, things that were active. We have a local community outreach program that also came and helped volunteer. They brought games. We had middle school students that came to volunteer their time. National Honor Society students were face painters. So we found a way to take it from just being a KERR thing to being a district outreach also, and how can we pull in other members of our school district to really help us get this to be successful. I don't know if you ever heard of Josh and Gab, but we had them come and do a little show. The kids loved it, so we had entertainment. We've done different things. And some of the things we've been able to have some funding now in the moving forward phase to hire and have some comedians. I'm trying to think, we've had a clown, just different things to kind of provide some fun for the students. But they love it, the families love it, and it's now become really a part of our school. So this is 6 years later.
We had a staff band too.
We did.
The first year we did.
We had some staff that performed. I mean, when you're starting off, you do what you have to do, right? And make fools of yourself. What happens at Kerrtoberfest stays at Kerrtoberfest kind of thing. You know, this is 6 years later, so this is just from our last one. Now, this one was held in the school. We had to change it because of weather conditions. We are lucky that we have a multi-purpose room and a gym in our current building, so we kind of made it work. It wasn't necessarily what the plan was or how our design for setting up things may have been if we were at the park, but moved it indoors, and the kids still had a blast. So this is Dr. Noro, and actually one of our custodians there helping the kids, making some pumpkins and decorating, and things like that, you know, again, from donations. So keep in mind that when you're looking at some of these things and you're trying to do this whole relationship building, community outreach, and connection, use the things that are also there within your district means. So the National Honor Society students need that time, so it works for them and it works for us, so it's a great partnership. You want to talk about some of our resources?
Yeah, and then just to quickly add on to the Kerrtoberfest event that we have, all of those events, within the big event, all of the activities and the food and the things that we do are able to happen because we also have teachers who volunteer. So it's typically an after-school activity. So we have teachers that stay. It starts usually at 4:30. By the time everything's wrapped up and we're cleaned up and out of there at 7. So this is, you know, in the middle of October when it's already cold and dark and people just want to go home. But we have teachers that are willing to sacrifice their time to come in, and it really makes a huge difference to the students because they get to come in, they get to hang out, they get to see their teachers and do something fun and make connections with them. So some other things that we do in regards to family engagement, as much as possible, we try and push information out to parents and families. So several years ago, we started a program called a Paw Perk. Students earn Paw Perks for, exhibiting positive behaviors. Teachers would hand a perk to them. That's what it used to look like years ago. That's Dr. Noro's face up there on what looks to be, it was like a little dollar bill kind of thing. But anytime we change an acknowledgement system or program, anytime we add something new with our PBIS stuff, anytime we want to put things out there to parents, we send it home. This was our newsletter from October, so Dr. Noro typically puts in a full page about Kerrtoberfest or some of the other things that we have going on, so that way the parents can see it. And then over to the left is what we currently do. We have a Principals 100 Club, so anytime a student's name gets drawn, they get to sign an autograph book, and then they can also earn a postcard that goes home. So they can take that home, and that's another way, again, that the parents have some ideas about what we're doing in the building to acknowledge positive behavior. Okay. Stan's going to talk about our KERR Kids PBIS team.
So I got one of the best jobs in the world. A few years ago, about 6 years ago, I started student council in our building, and it's really grown. And in fact, it's kind of evolved into something that I never would have imagined. I mean, we always wanted to give kids the opportunity to, take charge and lead in their school and give back to their community. And we kind of went and built slowly. And every year we work and we come up with different challenges by listening to teachers in the community in ways we can help out. So about 2 years ago, Stacy came up and said, "We really like what you're doing with this. Would you have any interest in being part of our PBIS team?" And at first I was like, we kind of are doing the same thing. So I'm going to show you the end, and then I'll fill in the blanks with the rest of it. The true stars for us are the kids, and they're not here. So up in front, we have a team of 9 kids on our PBIS team, and they do amazing things around the school. So we're going to let them talk for a second.
Just a real quick plug in for one of our students too. So one of the girls in the front row, she actually designed our logo. So of our team, they really want to have this involvement within their team and feel that what they're doing is making an impact within our building. So just something to note how we pulled that in as well with the kids.
Hi, my name is Cambria. I am a member of the KERR PBIS Kids team. We hope you are having a great time in Hershey. Since we can't be there with you, we wanted to put together a little video about who we are, what we do, and why we love being on the PBIS team. So please put down your chocolate and enjoy the show. The KERR Kids PBIS team is a team of kids who represent our school and work with the teachers and other students to make KERR a better place.
The team is made up of 4th and 5th grade students who were nominated by teachers and staff.
Our team meets every Thursday at lunch and recess to talk about and plan the things we want to do around the school.
We make videos to use during class meetings and recently planned a school-wide spring booster event called Watch Us Bloom.
We have learned how to become strong leaders, make decisions about things that can make a positive impact in our school, and that even the youngest kids can have great ideas.
Meeting new friends, making KERR a better place, working with teachers and students.
Number 10 looks good on a middle school resume. Number 9, we have our own YouTube channel.
Which is all the rage.
Number 8, working lunches in the conference room in spinny chairs. Woo! Number 7, part of amazing students. Number 6, learn how to be strong leaders and communicators. Number 5, VIP treatments at PBIS events. Number 4, collaborate with each other. Number 3, our input matters. Number 2,
Role models. Kindergartners think we're big stuff.
Number 1, we help make our school and community a better place.
Yeah. So they make us look really good. I mean, and it's that easy. And when you put kids who want to give back and want to help in a position to do such a thing, it really does make a huge difference. I mean, initially, like I said, we started as a student council. We're still a student council, but I see us evolving into being more like a PBIS/student council group. We haven't come up with an exact word, but the idea is we want to do good for our school and our community. And initially, when we first got together with PBIS, one of the things that we wanted to really work on developing was this idea of our core values, and the core values such as respect, responsibility, integrity. But there is a humongous list out there. So initially, we started writing some scripts, and the easiest way to communicate with other kids is to have kids teach kids. They love it. And we also bought the buy-in with YouTube because kids are on YouTube all the time. So we came up with our own little YouTube channel. And what we do was we work on developing scripts that talk about things like persistence, teamwork, citizenship. And the kids talk to the other kids about it. And what we do is we've kind of evolved that into when we go to the team meetings, and the kids will actually help run or they'll play the video. We'll give the teachers support questions, and they push in and they help lead that discussion. So it's kind of nice to see them step up and take charge and show exactly why they got involved in this in the first place. Now, in general, right now, it's all volunteer. The kids give up their lunch, their recess to be part of it. And last year, it was our first year of trying it, and it was definitely, we learned a lot. We didn't have a team, and we ended up taking kids who were amazing kids who ran for student council office and didn't get elected. All of their speeches were passionate. They wanted to do something positive in the school. And at first I was like, well, let's just pull those guys and see how it goes. And they were all into it. They made videos. They helped plan for our booster event. And at that point, like, we all kind of realized that this is something special and we really need to have them pulled in, because in the end, I mean, they're the ones who need to lead others to buy into what we're trying to do and build that positive support. I mean, we have a really diverse group of kids. It's not based on academics, on popularity. It's just kids who care. And we kind of open that door up to everyone who wants to be part of it. If we go and look at it, initially, last year was our trial year. This year we thought, we definitely need to up the ante a little bit. So the kids were actually trained and they were made aware of what PBIS is and that whole process. And we pull them in, and we're actually working with them a lot more so they understand where we are, and then we could all work together. I mean, their ultimate job is to basically mimic us and what we do, but on their level, and it really does help make a big difference. So with that, we've been working on and developing some different things. You want to flip to the next one? And the whole video series was difficult at first because none of us have time. We're all volunteering our time. Every one of us, the kids included. So we struggled with coming up and what's our topic going to be? What are we going to write about? And eventually we came across a website called Project Wisdom. And Project Wisdom, its whole idea works around this idea of character education. And if you haven't checked it out or you don't know about it, it's worth looking into. I mean, they have a whole year's worth of lessons. And with those years' worth of lessons, it covers such a vast diversity of topics. And a lot of schools will just buy it to read and have on their morning announcement. But what we're trying to do is we'll pinpoint lessons and then work them into some of the things we do within our school. For example, when we did our boosters last year, we used the word, we took wonder, and we worked in the idea of empathy and support. And we're trying to tie all those areas together. But with this, I mean, it's like you said, student voices broadcast it to the rest of the people. So we have one little video. We'll just start and just give you an idea of what it's about.
Hello, my name is Nolan, and I'm a part of the KERR's PBIS team. The goal of our YouTube channel is to help promote positive behaviors at school, in our homes, in our community. Respect, responsibility, and integrity are three important words we use regularly here at KERR Elementary. Many students and teachers practice these virtues every day at school, in their homes, and within the community. So what are virtues? Virtues are character qualities that challenge us to be a better person. At KERR, we treat each other with respect. We show that we are responsible by completing our work. We practice integrity by doing the right thing, even when no one is looking.
Well, these three characters.
So, I mean, that gives you a kind of idea of what we're trying to accomplish. And with the kids, like, we're working on, let's not talk like robots when we're in front of the camera. And they're getting better at it, but they have fun. And really, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing for us, for them to have fun and make a difference in what they're out there presenting. So one of the other things we've done, and I'm going to pass this over to Stacy, is we have a booster event. And the booster event initially was run by the PBIS team. And for a few years, this is where we have that volunteerism, where the teachers, it's the same 5 teachers who are doing this everything. And everyone does pitch in and help, but it takes a lot. It takes, a whole village to make things move forward. So with last year, bringing in the kids into the mix, we're like, whoa, this is a part of the equation that we've been missing for the last few years. And they were able to help plan this booster. So Stacy, you want to?
Yeah, sure. And again, just to work backwards a little bit, when I talked about strengths, I just realized I forgot to mention a few things. We have Crystal Votsberger, who's really helped us out with our PBIS Kids team. She actually came in and trained our team, did a little mini mock like PBIS training day for our students, and they loved it. She actually gave them folders that look like the folders the IU hands out for a PBIS training, and those kids bring their folders to their weekly meetings and sit down and they are ready to go. They still carry those folders around, which is great because it just shows the investment level that they have in what they're doing. I also think Stan doesn't give himself enough credit for all the hard work that he does, because all of this video presentation stuff is him. Amy and I help facilitate the meetings every week, but Stan gets out there and actually does all of the videotaping, the editing. It's a lot of work. And I think we also need to give a shout out to Dr. Noro as well, because without strong administrative support, and that should have been on that strengths page, but it just needs to be mentioned that you need to have that administrator support and buy-in. Otherwise, we couldn't be doing any of this. He gives us a lot of freedom and flexibility to be able to pull in our students, give them the time, give them the opportunity to be a part of this. So, but talking about our booster events, in the spring of every year, we realized that we would see a spike. Looking at our Swiss data, typically January, February, March were terrible months. And we all know why. The weather's terrible, the kids are stuck inside, there's no outdoor recess. We're on our way to PSSA time. So we started having spring boosters to just use as a behavioral incentive for our students. They had to earn it. We would have a day of fun activities planned. Never really, we would talk about behavior, and the lead up to it was their behavior needed to be positive and that we could acknowledge it. But in the last couple of years, what we realized is we really need to bring some content to these booster sessions. And so last year, when we started with kind of piloting this whole PBIS thing, Stan had mentioned that this young lady, Ava, had really wanted to do something to make a difference. And one of the things that she had an idea about was coming up with kindness rocks. So we took Ava's idea with kindness rocks, and if you feel free to jump in, because I know that was really a lot of work. But we used Ava's idea and then also kind of pulled it into a whole day of wonder. And so we used the theme of empathy. We showed the movie Wonder. We had the students do a lot of work in the classrooms around, empathy and what that means and what it looks like. We had Ava kind of run this whole thing with the kindness rocks, and we have an actual bin now that's outside of Stan's computer lab. It's a rock garden, so anytime you feel like you need an encouraging word, you can take a rock, you can leave a rock.
Our 4th grade students also read the book Wonder, so that was something within that realm. They were familiar with the book, and the whole that it's meant to deliver.
And I know what you're thinking, rocks, okay? Because that's the first thing that went through my mind, rocks. But honestly, they've all been used appropriately over the last couple of years. It's been
We've had one situation, but it's.
Okay, one situation.
But they thought the rocks bounced, and they really don't bounce on the ground. But anyway, yeah, we didn't have rubber rocks. But so it wound up being a really great experience. So not only are we boosting, that spring behavior where we tend to see a slump with our data, but then it was also just more than, okay, well, it's a day of fun. It really kind of brought it back around and made us realize we need to again, this is a good time to inject some character development.
And even just having the kids like Ava stood in front of the whole group, talked about, her, when she ran for student council president, she wanted to do this. She didn't win, but it was such a great idea. So she kept pushing, like Paul and I really want to do this. So we said, sure. And she just ran with it. And she stood up in front of, K 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just talked. And the kids were like, so you're giving her a chance to be a leader in front of everybody. And you would think some of these kids, they can't do it, but they've got stuff that, it's really great to see.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we're moving into a new building, and one of the things we want to do is change things up. The PBIS team, the students are going to be a big part of this because we're designing our posters and everything as we move into the new building. I need to have them a part of it because, we've done a lot of groundwork as adults. Sometimes as adults, we kind of lose sight of what it looks like from a child's point of view. So we're having them involved in creating the posters, updating the posters, and what do we really need to have on them? What are kids what are they really gonna read and look at? So they're a part of that, but we also designed, we need to design a new logo. I was a graphic designer and an art teacher, so it kind of worked out, but I have a really good art teacher in the building who really thought that it was a good idea and kind of helped facilitate that between projects and other things to fit it in. And so we gave the opportunity for all kids K-5 to design a logo. We gave them some of the ideas, but they had to take it from there. From each class, we picked 2, and then we put them up on the board, put numbers, and then the staff came by and we kind of voted on it. We've used different logos in the past. They were always the high school district ones, and they're real nice and everything, but they don't have a KERR-friendly look. They always look, they're all muscular and they're tough looking. And I always got told, are you going to put the bully fox on our next t-shirts? So we needed something new, and one of our students came up with this. We had 4 students. There were 3 second-place runner-up, and then the one who won right here. And then we sent it to the high school, where a student from KERR Elementary School at the high school took it and kind of redesigned it, made it clean, did everything like that. And then when I get back, I already had the frames. This and the other 3 logos will all be framed, and then they'll get their gift certificate. The volunteers, so they're going to get gift certificates because it was their time. They put a lot of energy into it, and they deserve it, and they'll be in our next newsletter. So it's really important to get them as involved as much as possible. And I think after we build up our Tier 1 supports and everything, and we felt good as a staff doing this, I think that we were ready to let go to students because you have to take control of that first before you can just jump in and have students so involved. But now that they're so involved, and I love it, it makes it so exciting for me every day to hear the ideas. I mean, when they come up with a new idea, I'm like, my first thing is like, I'm really happy to hear it. But at the same time, it's just great to see what ideas they come up with. It's amazing. So
back and kind of take a look at the words that you guys had selected or thought of when we first said, what are your challenges now? What comes to mind? So if you take a look, and unfortunately it's not going to zoom it in for us, but anything that was mentioned multiple times enlarges. So as you entered your words, it's calculating what we see here and making the words that were hit on the most bigger. They're the bigger focus that came to mind. We hope that from what we've shared today, your mindset will kind of change a little bit, and you'll maybe leave here inspired to do something based on what you've seen, or maybe something's even come to your mind just from while you're doing your own thinking and processing. So, I mean, if you take a look, obviously the ones that seem the biggest are interest, time, and communication. And I would say that those are things that we really struggle with in the beginning too. How are we going to get the interest of not only our staff, but the students as well, and then the families. And then time is also just obviously the biggest thing to find a way to make it all work. Not only on the time for actually having the events, but there's a lot of prep that goes into doing these activities, whether it be the weekly meetings or the actual event itself. And communication, whether it's academic based, family engagement based, or what have you, is key. So finding ways to really reach out and share that. But our goal now is for you to kind of just take a second and think, if you were to change your words, hopefully they would be something different that might come to mind.
One thing that's really important is also we needed a systemic change in our building. The teachers and the staff were just not happy with the way things were going. So when we see like buy-in, the buy-in has to be from the staff, but it also has to be from the principal. One thing I do a lot of, except for May is my toughest month, is I'm in the classrooms all the time. And when I first came to KERR, I walked into a classroom and they go, "What do you want? What are you doing here?" But after they got used to it, and really I come in and I have relationships with kids and things like that, and they're teaching, and I'm in and out. I don't, I sometimes will walk around a little bit and then get out to see what's going on. Is to make sure that we're all on the same page as we're going through, because that's my job, and I really like being active and around the building. So I think you'll get that buy-in, and if you have an active administrator and active teachers in the building that want that change to happen, it'll happen.
So bringing it back together, our main mission here was just to really give you what do we feel is the secret to our success. And it's not just been a smooth road that we started and everything worked perfect. Obviously, there's kinks along the way, things to work out, and just a lot of collaboration that has to be in part. But if you see what we have here, that's our team. That's the kids that we work with within our building to really make this work. We shared with you their input, and it's really happening. It's not just something that we're pretending is going on. So it's not about just the resources that you have, but really the relationships that you're building. These kids love us, they love each other, and they really want to make a better KERR. So for us, it's really been a great evolution to see how they've changed and how our building dynamic has grown. So if you need any information, I know they're going to be sharing the PowerPoint and also the presentation itself. We have Dr. Noro and Stacy's emails listed, so feel free if there's any resources that we've talked about or shared that you would like us to provide, we can do that as well. We want you to know that we're here to help support too.
And it's an underscore between our names. It's kind of hard to see.
Oh yeah, first name underscore last name at fcasd.edu.
Most of your teachers, isn't it nice that if you know that the kids in kindergarten, every time they come up, they have the same expectations and they know what's going to happen? So it's not like, oh, they go from one room to another grade level and it's all different expectations, different expectations. I mean, I think that is so important to have that consistency. And I know we're not robots. Not every classroom is the same. And it isn't. But at least the core, like the core part of it, the core, like what we're thinking of and the essence of it is the same, even though everyone is allowed to have their own way of handling it, Some can do it with a sense of humor. Some are a little bit more directive. Whatever it is, they get the job done, and that's why the focus is on the learning and less on things like, getting in line and those other things that sometimes just waste time for teachers.
We have a few minutes. I didn't know if there was any questions or anything that you would, yes.
So your student group, when you're trying to mimic the adults, are you going through your Swiss data,
We are not.
PBIS data with the kids?
No, we do not. I mean, ours is more of what could we do to help our school and help with positive behavior. And one of the things, Crystal was working with us is what target behavior could we work on? So we talked about transition in bathroom. That seems to be a tough time. So we're slowly building that in. Like I said, this is our first official year. Last year we kind of, faked our way through it and did a great job at it, and it turned into something great. So eventually we'd like to evolve that into more of those positive behaviors, whether it's posters and different things that they could go out and present in the classroom. And Paul said it too, he talked about kindergarten. A lot of kids, they say, oh, when I get to third grade, I could be part of, student counseling. So they look up to those role models. The joke about role models, kindergartners loves us, it's so true though, because these kids push in, they help at lunch, they help at recess, they'll go down at the end of the day, they're in the classrooms. And just by getting out there and being seen, it really makes a big difference for those younger groups. And we really stress to the kids, you're a role model no matter where you are in the building, whether you're in the hallway, whether you're in your classroom. So you need to act like that and let others see that. And by giving them this chance, it really lets them develop in that leadership quality that we're all looking for.
And they are, and so the video that Stan had showed earlier, those videos they're on a YouTube channel, but we actually send those out to the teachers so that during their classroom meeting times, they can show those videos. So again, those younger students get to see the bigger kids, as part of a video series, and then, those videos themselves are used to teach lessons about, again, different character traits or whatever it is that we're focusing on at the time.
And those classroom meetings are critical. I'll say it again. They're just so critical. Believe me, you reap it all back.
Good question. How often are your meetings of 40 minutes?
With the students, Thursdays, we meet weekly on Thursdays. Although they're not done our doors Tuesday, asking, are we meeting today?
Are you talking about
It's
classroom
meetings?
meetings?
The classroom meetings.
Classroom meetings
About
are
a
40
40-minute
minutes.
session, yeah.
And they're,
Once a week.
Yeah, each teacher is able to select a day within their weekly schedule based on their special schedule or what they have going on. And then that 40 minutes is dedicated to some lesson that's a classroom meeting.
Maybe if it's 30 minutes, something.
Your earned reward days, what happens with the kids who didn't earn the reward? Then how does that staffing work to be able to have enough staff to cover the kids who did versus those who didn't?
So the question is about earned rewards, and so are you talking about the booster sessions where we can send? So, and that has worked several different ways. I mean, we have a lot of discussion every year, every spring when we start talking about our spring booster. How do we make it work? Because ultimately our goal is to have all of the students involved. Really
It's
when
more
we're talking,
progressive in nature than it is earned.
right, and when we're talking about things like character development and education, and really talking about things that are impactful like empathy and that whole day of wonder that we did, we don't want to exclude anybody. So basically, unless there's a really significant behavioral issue, what we do is try and build it up. So again, it's a focus on the positive so that each grade level, it's not necessarily each individual student, but each grade level, and it changes based on what the theme is. Might have to, like this past year was Watch Us Bloom, and it was, we did a lot of social and emotional learning that we learned about emotional regulation, had a whole day set up with like the emoji movie and the Inside Out movie, and then we had yoga and some other things. But we have a bulletin board typically where the students can kind of see the progression of earning their way into the reward or the incentive for that day. So we had a bulletin board. It was in one of the slides. It said Watch Us Bloom, and each grade level had a flower, and they could earn the pop hearts that we had that were each a different color. So each flower got bigger and bigger and bigger. So
We're showing the progression of how they were building throughout that time period, rather earning it specifically unless it was a special. Yeah.
So ultimately our goal is, again, to not exclude anybody from it, because really the goal is to...
Some of those children need it more, not less.
Yes.
Just a quick question. For your bigger events, for your, October thing and for, booster, do you pull in like members of your staff or faculty other than the core team to kind of do a subcommittee to plan that stuff? Because those are big events, and I'm thinking that's a lot for our core team, but how do you handle that?
As far as the planning goes, that is primarily done by our core team, to be honest.
Okay.
And Paul does afford us the time to be able to get together as much as possible. Some of that is done before school or at the end during dismissal periods, but our teachers and staff help with the implementation. So then we create a sign-up genius where they can go in, we have areas of need, they can put their names on of what time frame they'd be available or what interest they have as far as participating, but the actual planning process is done more within our course.
And it was, in the beginning it was a little bit different as well. Like now we're 6 years out from Kerrtoberfest, for example, but we had a lot of involvement with a couple of the community agencies, resources that were in our specific neighborhoods. And they came in and did a lot of the stuff for us because we really were like, we're not sure what we're doing, but we're going to put it out there and hope it works. And then we learned a lot of things from some of the organizations that came in, even just how to sort of do some of that project management stuff, and then we were able to take it on. But that took a lot of that responsibility off of our plates when we're doing the things that we really need to be doing while we're at school every day.
And also provide perks for teachers and staff members. So what it does, it affords them, I guess, a date why they're receiving it, and then they can come in at 8:30 instead of 8, or leave at 3:30 instead of 4. That just gives that flexibility there. I try to do like sometimes a surprise like breakfast or something like that for them or something like that. I mean, because they are giving of their time and they're just being, they're out there like after school and at Kerrtoberfest, and the booster is work, and they have to, and so they put their time into some of the activities they're involved in too. This year they were involved in some of the activities that are going on. So I try to also treat them like we treat the students as well by giving them incentives, try to reward them for being so vested in this program.
We have time for one more.
Not a question, but maybe a suggestion. Now that you have the logo as a fox, what does the fox say? Be a slogan, theme song, or whatever for the children to introduce their
I think we did have something several years ago that like made its way around and then it sort of died out. So until there's a new song with a fox or something, we've let that one settle for a little bit. We're still trying to get through dabbing and everything else that's going on.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all for your time. We hope that the information that we've provided gives you some inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you for our presenters sharing all these wonderful ideas.